Imagine if tomorrow the Panama Canal suddenly closed. Thousands of ships would instantly be trapped or forced to take a route thousands of kilometers longer. The price of food, fuel, and electronics could begin to rise across the world. But could one country really cause a global economic crisis? What would actually happen if Panama closed the Panama Canal? The answer might be far more serious than you think. To understand the consequences, we first need to understand just how important the Panama Canal really is. Before it existed, ships traveling between the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans had to sail all the way around the southern tip of South America. That journey added thousands of kilometers and several extra weeks to every trip. Everything changed in 1914. The Panama Canal created a shortcut that transformed global shipping forever. Today, thousands of vessels carrying cars, food, electronics, oil, raw materials, and countless other products pass through this canal every single year. For many companies, it is one of the fastest and cheapest routes on Earth. Without it, international trade would become slower, more expensive, and far less efficient. Now imagine that overnight, Panama announces that no ships will be allowed to cross the canal. The effects would begin almost immediately. Cargo ships approaching the canal would suddenly have nowhere to go. Shipping companies would have to make a difficult decision: either wait for the canal to reopen or take the much longer route around South America. That alternative would add thousands of kilometers to many voyages, increasing fuel consumption, delaying deliveries, and significantly raising transportation costs. Within just a few days, ports around the world would begin to experience delays. Factories waiting for raw materials could slow production. Stores expecting new products might receive them much later than planned. And this would only be the beginning. At first, you might think that only Panama would be affected, but that's far from the truth. Some of the world's largest economies depend on the Panama Canal every single day. The United States is one of its biggest users, with thousands of ships carrying everything from food and fuel to vehicles and consumer goods. China also relies on this route to transport massive amounts of cargo across the Pacific. Countries such as Japan, South Korea, Chile, and many others would also experience major disruptions. Every delayed shipment means more money spent on fuel, insurance, and operating costs. For companies moving millions of dollars worth of products, even a small delay can become incredibly expensive. And when businesses pay more, consumers usually pay more too. This is where the effects become much more personal. Now imagine ordering a new phone, buying a car, or even going to the supermarket. If transportation suddenly becomes much more expensive, companies often pass those extra costs on to customers. That means higher prices for imported products. Electronics could become more expensive. Certain foods could cost more. Building materials might also increase in price. Even if you live thousands of kilometers away from Panama, the closure of the canal could still affect your daily life. Global trade works like a giant network. When one of its most important connections breaks, the consequences spread everywhere. But here's something many people don't realize: not everyone would lose. Some countries and companies could actually benefit from the situation. Whenever global trade changes, new opportunities appear. Shipping companies would begin looking for alternative routes. Ports in other regions could suddenly receive far more ships than usual. Countries controlling other strategic trade routes could become even more important. Some businesses specializing in air cargo might also see higher demand, since companies needing fast deliveries could choose airplanes instead of waiting weeks for ships. Even fuel suppliers and certain logistics companies could profit from the longer journeys. History has shown that every major disruption creates both winners and losers. But one thing would remain clear: closing the Panama Canal would not be a problem affecting only one country. It would become a challenge for the entire global economy. Technically, yes, Panama controls the canal. That means the country has the legal authority to manage who passes through it and under what conditions. However, completely shutting down the canal would come at an enormous cost. The Panama Canal is one of the country's most important sources of income. Every ship that crosses pays significant transit fees, generating billions of dollars for Panama's economy. Closing it would not only hurt international trade, it would also damage Panama itself. Businesses would lose confidence, government revenue would fall, and the country's economy could suffer severe consequences. For that reason, a complete closure is considered extremely unlikely. Still, temporary disruptions caused by droughts, maintenance, or political crises have already shown just how vulnerable global trade can be. And every time traffic slows, the entire world pays attention. The Panama Canal is much more than an engineering masterpiece. It is one of the arteries of the global economy. Every single day, it helps move food, medicine, electronics, vehicles, and countless other products across the planet. Without it, shipping would become slower, transportation costs would increase, and millions of people could end up paying higher prices. The story of the Panama Canal reminds us that sometimes a narrow strip of water can influence the lives of billions of people. Because in today's interconnected world, a decision made in one country can affect families, businesses, and entire economies thousands of kilometers away. And that's exactly what makes the Panama Canal one of the most important places on Earth. Every country has a place, a resource, or a decision that changed the course of history. Here on World Recorded, we explore the world's biggest questions through geography, economics, and geopolitics. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe and join us for the next journey. What country or global mystery should we explore next? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next documentary.